Hello again, Struck Club. Today I'm bringing you another build video for Torchlight 3, and this one is for the Cursed Captain class and the Bane subclass. But instead of going for minions, I'm going for Venomous Maw, and that's why I've called this Captain Venom. Captain Venom, as you might have guessed, is using the Egg of Mayhem and spamming Venomous Maw so it can spam that 2-for-1 relic skills that the Egg of Mayhem gives us. And just like any other Cursed Captain build, it's always nice to have the banner for extra damage and to have black spot so you can curse the enemy so they can take more damage from all of your attacks and skills. And we couldn't have a good Egg of Mayhem build without Imbue Relic to recharge the energy. So Imbue Relic is there as it is on most of my setups. And then what else have I included? I've included Maelstrom instead of Blunderbuss because I like how it groups up the enemies closer together. And since Venomous Maw right now is a little bugged, and 99% of the time instead of one spider next to the second spider, you would see either one spider or one spider and right underneath him in the exact same lane the second spider. Normally the skill spawns when you have the tier 1 bonus 2 spiders next to each other side by side for a larger coverage. And this bug probably will never get fixed because probably we'll never get any patches in the game in the future since the devs moved on to other projects. So yeah, hopefully this gets fixed, but most likely it wouldn't, so Maelstrom works greatly to group up the enemies. And to top it off, a little bit of Broadside for trickles of damage and Powder Keg for bursting bosses and champions is pretty nice, as on any other setup. So you can play it with Blunderbuss if you want to, you're just gonna lose that extra crowd control that synergizes nicely with spamming those spider missiles, spider projectiles. So let's start with the skills. Now let's talk about the skills, and before we explain why and what levels of skills I've taken, you need to understand that I'm wearing 3 pieces of the Commodore's set, and 2 of those pieces are the jacket and the cape. Ideally you would combine that with the pauldrons, and the cape gives us +1 piracy skills, and when we have 3 pieces +2, and the jacket is the same but for the cursed skills. So when you see something like this at 4 levels, that means it's 4 plus the bonus 2 levels, making it 6, which means it gives me the tier 2 bonus. Now let's quickly show you the skill levels, and then after that I will talk about why I'm taking those skills at those levels. So Black Spot is at tier 2. This one is at tier 3, so 4 points, 8 points. This is 10 points, so that's level 12. Those ones don't get affected by the bonuses, so that's 10 points into Venomous Maw, 5 points into Spread of Death, which is not necessary, you might wanna remove the points and put them elsewhere, and 5 points into Energizer. I suggest not removing those points unless you really need points, unless you maybe don't have the set bonuses yet. The last things you need to put points into is those. So if you need extra points, those are the 2 things you could remove. And when you put the points back, prioritize this over this. Then there's Double Cross at tier 2, 4 points +2, 4 points +2 Rate Walk for the tier 2 bonus, and Powder Keg is maxed 12 levels, 10 +2, and Broadside 10 +2. Now let's talk about why. Why those skills, why those levels? Black Spot tier 2 for the relic damage. We don't need much damage for Black Spot. The only reason I'm going this far is the relic skills damage, so that Venomous Maw does more DPS. Dread Banner, I like the tier 3 bonus, and it also reduces the cooldown. In fact, you might want to go for 10 +2 if you want more cooldown, but if you decide you need more the wound generation, you could put points into Thieving Spirits, 4 points to get the tier 2 bonus, and as I mentioned, you might remove points from Spread of Death, or you could remove points from Dread Banner and only keep it at like 0 points +2 or 1 point +2 or whatever points you've got left over. So you don't have to go like me for the stun, but I suggest getting the stun because it's nice to stun, then use Maelstrom and cluster up those stunned enemies, and then follow up with Kegs and Venomous Maw. But if you need extra boon generation, Thieving Spirits tier 2 and Fire tier 2, 4 points into each would be enough with the sets. Maelstrom maxing out just because it does some extra damage. If you think you're not using Maelstrom for damage but rather for the crowd control, then you can remove 2 points and keep it at 8 plus 2. In fact, you can even remove a lot of points and just keep it at 1 plus 2. 1 plus 2 for level 3 for the tier 1 bonus. If you don't care about the damage it does, you would be able to save some points from it. Venomous Maw, needless to say, needs to be maxed out. It's a major source of damage of the build alongside Powder Keg. This one, as I mentioned, is just for the tier 2 bonus, 30% damage to piracy skills, which boosts Powder Keg and Broadside. And Broadside is not a major source of damage, but it's an extra additional source of damage, and it does wonders here. This one actually works much better if you're using Fire or Plunderbuss instead of Maelstrom as your spam skill, the boon skill. But it also gets its cooldown reduced every time you use Powder Keg or the Raid Walk, or even take a Sweep, which I've put just as a fewer. So there is a Duboon version, not Duboon, Plunderbuss version, where the 10 points from Maelstrom go into Plunderbuss and you use Plunderbuss. And that's okay, that's a good version, that's gonna be a very strong version, stronger version, more of an easy mode version. So if you don't want Maelstrom, if you want the stronger version, use Plunderbuss, and that would allow you to cast Broadside more often as well, because it's a piracy skill. I think that the synergy with Maelstrom is nice and visually looks better, even though it might not be as easy mode as Plunderbuss. I wanted it to be different, so Maelstrom's crowd control goes nicely with Venomous Maw. This one's here for the tier 2 bonus, for the cooldown reduction. This one's maxed out for the tier 2, tier 3 and tier 1 bonus, as well as the extra damage we get from the extra 2 levels after level 10. This one as well, we want the tier 1 and 3 bonus. I don't care about the tier 2 bonus here, but extra damage from those extra 2 levels are not bad. So there are versions where you would be removing points from this and just keep it as a level 0 plus 2 and putting points into Take a Sweep, which could give you extra energy recharge, which stacks with this energy recharge, and you get 25 here and 10% there, 35. You can get some energy recharge in gear and get even more spamminess of Venomous Maw. And then this one's tier 3 bonus refreshes all other cooldowns and set the boons to max. Meaning you can use Maelstrom, Take a Sweep, another Maelstrom that's maxed out. And it's also gonna reset the cooldown of this and this skill. Unfortunately, it does not reset the cooldown of Powder Keg. It does not give you extra 3 charges to Powder Keg. But remember that version. Those 8 points here could go here. And you can still use this if you have the set bonuses. Because you don't care about 1, 2 or 3 tier bonuses, because the pet damage only applies to the actual pet, in my case this little stack here. But it's not gonna apply to the minions, and you're not using minions anyway. But yeah, that's it for the skills. Now the Legendarium. The Legendarium, My Lil General, works nicely if you have the Ancient Ember Boots equipped or swatted. And I always say it when I'm using the Ancient Ember Boots, either use Woods Beast Boots and swat the Ancient Ember, or do it the other way around, using Ancient Ember Boots and then putting the Woods Beast Boots here. The Woods Beast Boots are for crit chance. That's the main reason why I use them. But the stun and knockback immunity is also amazing. Whereas for the attack speed we don't care, because we don't use basic attacks. So that 25% crit chance with this 15% crit chance gives you 40. And yeah, in the Legendarium you would want Lil General if you have the Ancient Ember Boots. Before you get the Ancient Ember Boots, Lil General is not that great, because you're not gonna have max energy often. But right now with the Ancient Ember Boots as Imbue Relic, I can do that, and then boom, buff 8 seconds of Grace from the Lil General. And that casting speed from the Lil General is great, but to get that casting speed you need a Frostwall and a North Mace equipped. More about that in the gear segment. You want Egg of Mayhem, a must-have for Mayhem builds. By Mayhem builds I mean builds that use the skill for the Egg of Mayhem, such as Venomous Maw, Spinning Blade, Frost Blast, Chaotic Strike, Sword Smash. So as I mentioned, so Egg of Mayhem, Lil General, and Ancient Ember Boots, or Woods Beast Boots if you're wearing Ancient Ember. Before you get Ancient Ember Boots in the setup, the Lil General is useless, so don't use it until then, and put something else. Other things that I can recommend until then, some of the class items are great. Showman is always good, because I don't think it's worth to make a build without Powder Keg, so Showman seems to be always good there. Things that could work, but I don't suggest the Koro Cudgel, avoid it. It's gonna ruin the whole crowd control aspect of Maelstrom, and we're not using Maelstrom for its damage, but for the crowd control. Apart from that, there are some other items you could consider, such as the Winterweave Cuirass. Actually, let me just show it here. The Winterweave Cuirass, you can try and swap this in the Legendarium, it's not gonna be bad. You could try and swap Ancient Ember Gloves. It's not bad until you get the boots and stuff. In the setup, this is a good filler. And yeah, if you're using Thunderbuss instead of Maelstrom, Fortune Spire, Swatted is not a bad choice. But still, the ideal setup would be Ancient Ember Boots or the Boots Beast, Lil General, and Egg of Mayhem. Now let's move on to the pet skills. Deadlier Strikes is the aura I recommend. That aura alongside Woods Beast Boots maxes your crit chance to 40%. I also recommend zoomies, more about why in the gear segment, but basically so that your pet can trigger certain things more often by attacking more often. Then there's Battle Cry, which gives us damage. I love this skill. And Healing Friendship, which is nice, and it stacks very well with Dryad Neckband for extra healing, and with pet attack speed from zoomies to trigger Token of Invigoration. And yeah, it's in general a very good thing. Now, next I'm gonna talk about the items. So here we are talking about the gear and the preferred stats and roles. First, I will mention every single item recommended for the setup, and after that I will talk about the affixes. So we want Dryad Neckband. I'm gonna start with the pets. We want a Dryad Neckband, we want a Token of Rapid Bartering, and ideally Token of Invigoration. If you don't think you need the Rapid Bartering, put something else here, but I strongly suggest getting the Invigoration and the Dryad Neckband, especially when they're together. It's gonna be nice when you combine it with the pet skills I suggested. Next, in the gear, you want 3 pieces of the Commodore. Ideally that would be the cape, the jacket, and powderons. If you don't have the powderons, you can temporarily wear another piece, but ideally you would want those 3 pieces of the Commodore set, the class set for the Cursed Captain. Then next, I would suggest Winterweave Gauntlets. It's a good bit of extra survivability that can be added to any build that doesn't need another type of gauntlets, and we don't need a specific type of gauntlets. That's why I stopped for Winterweave. Winterweave Pants is another thing that can be used in any build. Even if it's without the set bonus, it gives you good gains. 40% faster cooldown for your potion is amazing. Even without the extra 40%, it's still a great source of survivability indirectly. And then here, as I mentioned, Woods Beast Boots or the Ancient Ember Boots. Whichever has better rows equip, and then the other ones what in the Legendarium. And then you would want a Frostwall alongside either a North Mace or a Glacier's Edge. So the thing is, this is what a North Mace looks like, this is what a Frostwall looks like, and a Glacier's Edge looks like this. So you want the shield alongside one of the items, one of the weapons. Whatever you get better, wear it. Whether it's a North Mace or a Glacier's Edge does not matter, all that matters is the stats. And speaking of stats, let's mention the stats I recommend. Again, starting with the pet items. Dryad Neckband ideally would have faster cooldown for pet active skills like the one I've got here, and instead of pet critical hit chance, over there you would want pet attack speed. So attack speed and faster cooldown for pet active skills, you would want those two things on the token of rapid bartering and on the token of invigoration. So you would have 3 times faster cooldown for pet active skills and 3 times pet attack speed. And then in the sockets for the tokens of rapid bartering and invigoration, you want faster cooldown for pet active skills. The same way I've got that one here. This one would give you another 3 times faster cooldown, so you would have 6 times faster cooldown, 3 times pet attack speed, and actually you would have 2 times faster cooldown, because you cannot get faster cooldown on the socket here. So you'd have 5 times faster cooldown for pet active skills. 1 here, 2 here, 2 here, and 3 times pet attack speed. It is here for the socket, but whatever, doesn't matter, it's not that important. Now let's talk about the weapon. In the weapon, the best thing you can get would be, for this setup, flat damage. So where I have chance to freeze, crit damage and spirit well levels, that's I call that the middle sockets, the middle affixes. In the middle affixes you would want as much flat damage as you can. It doesn't matter what type it is, fire, poison, physical, electric, etc. It doesn't matter, but ice would be the better choice if you're stacking percent ice damage. Why ice? Because North Mace and Glacier Edge always come with ice damage at the top, which is the highest amount of damage on a certain weapon. So the built-in damage being ice, it means that ice damage would be the better synergy, and that's only true if you're stacking percent ice damage in your items, and percent ice damage is not gonna give you that much gains compared to other things. So top choice would be flat damage. Choice number 2 would be things like crit damage, or +3 skill levels to Venomous Maw, or +3 skill levels to Powder Keg. If you're using Blunderbuss, +3 levels to Blunderbuss goes well there as well, and it's gonna give you great gains. I wouldn't recommend getting +3 levels to any of the other skills, so Black Spot, Maelstrom, Dread Banner, Double Cross, Raid Walk, Broadside. I would avoid +3 skill levels to this, so either get +3 levels to the Powder Keg or Venomous Maw, or if you're not using Maelstrom, then for Blunderbuss. But I wouldn't recommend +3 levels to Maelstrom, because it's not used mostly for damage in our case. So flat damage, crit damage and levels to specific skills is great. After that, something like chance to freeze would be nice. It's not gonna boost your damage, but it's definitely gonna increase your survivability, because freezing an enemy means you're not getting hit for, in my case, 0.8 seconds. It's actually great. It's a great crowd control, and from the shit stats, from the shit rolls, it's actually one of the not so shit, one of the acceptable ones. Apart from that, there's things like crit chance, which I wouldn't suggest because we already maxed it out. Crit damage goes up to 300%, so that's why crit damage is the better choice. Now for the shield. For the shield, instead of chance to bleed that I have right now, you would want chance to poison, and you get it from this thing. And you need the good chance to poison. By good chance to poison I mean this one here. X% chance to poison for Y base damage for Z seconds. Not the one poison chance affixes. So when you get that one, you're gonna get a little bit extra damage from the thing that gives you, from the what was the name? Spread of Death. From Spread of Death, the passive. Spread of Death would proc more often, giving you a little bit of extra damage. Obviously that's not that must have of a thing, so it's not that important even if you don't have a socket, but if you wanna squeeze every little bit of damage, get this type of poison chance on the shield as a focus, and that's gonna increase Spread of Death. Obviously you're poisoning with this one. You're poisoning with this one, so you already cause poison, which already helps with Spread of Death, but it's nice to be able to poison even without this, even before you start using Venomous Maw, to be able to poison with this or this even this one or this one, anything that does damage would be able to poison, which is nice. Then what else did we miss? So back to the items. In the shield you want very good defense at the top, 9000 or higher is obviously nice for level 60. 14 or higher % chance to walk in the top, and then in the middle you want defense, as much defense as possible, ideally physical defense, or 2 or 3 different types of elemental defense, but physical is obviously better. You don't care about HP, chance to slow, chance to fear, etc. In the middle you want as much defense as you can get, and as many types as possible, but ideally physical needs to be there. Now, for the damage affixes, you want this thing, damage with Powder Keg. On this place, the shoulders, on the jacket you want damage with Powder Keg, and on the legs you want damage with Powder Keg. If you get 3 times damage with Powder Keg, you have so much DPS on bosses when you unleash those 3 kegs, one after the other. Back to the shoulders, the second best thing you can get is crit damage. And after that, defenses. After that, my suggestion is defenses. So something like this would be perfect roll. It's my only perfect rolled Cursed Captain item, where you have good defense at the top, then Powder Keg damage, then crit damage, and then a socket for extra defense. On the chest, after you get damage to Powder Keg, look for things like crit damage or flat damage. I'm not sure if flat damage is possible. Maybe they removed it from armors, like the chest and the legs could get flat damage, but if it can, it's your second best choice after % damage with Powder Keg. If using Blunderbuss, % damage to Blunderbuss is also nice, but I don't suggest % damage to Maelstrom. It's just not where we get the damage from, and since you cannot get % damage to Venomous Maw, only to class skills, Blunderbuss and Powder Keg are good choices, Maelstrom is not. But Blunderbuss, as I said, is not part of the base build, but there will be a Blunderbuss version that you saw in the skill segment. So yeah, priority number 1, damage to Powder Keg, here, here and here. Priority number 2 here is crit damage, here it's flat damage if it exists still, and then is crit damage, and then is % ice damage, because we're using North Mace or Glacier Sedge, and they have top damage being ice. That's why % ice is not a bad choice either. Here you would want again % damage to Powder Keg or Blunderbuss if using it, then flat damage if it still exists. Then you cannot get crit damage here, and crit chance is useless because you already have Woods Beast Sandals and the pet crit aura. So the next best thing would be % ice damage. And after that you're looking for defense, as much defense as you can get. In the sockets, get defense. That's the best thing you can get for all pieces of armor in the socket. Getting defense is the way to go. Ideally flat physical defense, because physical applies to any type of damage, even though it's less than elemental in terms of numbers. You want at least 60% here at level 60 without Fazeer bonuses in your items. You want 60% damage prevented from physical. Then on the boots, priority number 1 is crit damage. The best thing you can get in boots is crit damage. After you get crit damage, the next best thing you can get will be ice damage. And ice damage is good if you stack 3 of them. If you stack 3 times 8-9% here, and then you put ice damage in the socket in the weapon, which comes from the best thing for weapon socketing is hot or cold. It can give you fire and ice damage alongside 4 more things, so 2 out of 6. 2 out of 6, 33% chance to get flat damage is the best one. And one of those damages is ice, so it works very well. So if you're stacking ice damage % here, % here is not bad. But again, prioritize the crit damage, don't care that much about the rest. Other good things you can consider is things that give you energy generation over here and here. And on the boots, something like duration to miasma would have been nice, but you're not using miasma. But you can try and experiment with a setup where you put 1 point into miasma and start Miasma right before doing Venomous Maw. But I would not suggest going for that. So get energy generation and energy cost reduction. Both of those stacks would get very useful for the build. In here and here, that's two places where you can get them. But priority number one for the cape is +3 levels to Venomous Maw or Powder Keg, or if using it, Ponderbus. After that, then consider the energy related things. Avoid chance to knock back, in my opinion, because it would just mess up the whole pulling effect of Maelstrom and spread out the enemies. And again, focus on as much defense as you can. And that pretty much should cover everything in terms of gear and affixes. Let's show you more video footage of the build in action. Okay, here we are at the gameplay segment where I'm gonna show you more of the build in action and talk about the rotation. Let's assume you are at 0 energy. The way I would do it in this case would be starting with Black Spot and the banner. It doesn't matter which one first, but I would do Black Spot first probably. Then next you wanna use Imbue Relic. Since that's done, now use Maelstrom, group up the enemies. Now do kegs on the grouped up enemies. 3 kegs and then start spamming Venomous Maw. If you have energy, you might want to start with some Venomous Maw before Imbue Relic and then proceeding as usual. Whereas Broadside is just a filler, you could use it whenever you feel it's needed and ready. To get notified when I upload more content for this game or other games like this one, which would be wooters of all varieties, isometric, third-person ARPGs, wooter shooters and all sorts of wooters like that, you could subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button to not miss out on my content updates. And optionally, you can even join as a member of the Struck Club on YouTube as a channel member to get access to exclusive perks such as special emotes custom made by me, special badges custom made by me that represents how many months you have been a member for, as well as opt-in of editing tutorials that I can give for Photoshop, Adobe Premiere, as well as shoutouts and things like that. And I would like to use this part of the video to thank all my YouTube members and Twitch subscribers. Thank you for supporting the channel and keeping me going. Thank you also for watching this video, everyone. Keep it cool, Struck Club. Until next time, and goodbye.